especially what happened in Ekiti State and some off-cycle elections, definitely you know exactly what we're talking about this morning. But let's go. Let's see what the papers have to say this morning. We begin with Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune says insecurity to top agenda as senators reconvene tomorrow. Akpabio Oshomole's feud may deepen. Ex-Edo governor not our reason for reconvening, Senate spokesman. Lawmakers free to move motion on any subject. That's what it says. All of these you get on page 2 of Nigerian Tribune. Taking a look here. Tinubu Oyebanji APC celebrates Ekiti governorship victory. It's validation of Tinubu's government, says Oyebanji. NBA applauds peaceful, orderly polls. Ekiti election reflects polling unit results, says Yaga Africa. Well, all of that's on page 22. Some health reports, saliva tests can predict dangerously sleep-deprived persons, says scientists. That's great innovation. At the top of Nigerian Tribune, Labour braces for change as UK Prime Minister Starmer's exit looms. One thing I can tell you for sure is that Starmer is very stubborn. He might just, wriggle his way out of this one. But let's see. It's going to be an interesting week. Finally, from Nigerian Tribune, Orire abduction. Troops close in on kidnappers' hideout. 168 high-profile terrorist commanders neutralized. Abdusalami urges Nigerians to unite against terror. Support security agencies to defeat evil. All of this on page 3. That's Nigerian Tribune this morning. The Roundtable newspaper review on Cleanbeat 91.5 FM Daily Sun. Orire abduction. Hope rises for abducted pupils, teachers. Security operatives encircle forest. Step up rescue efforts. Abdusalami mobilizes Nigerians against terrorism. The story is on page 6. And one more. Flood, windstorm destroys shops, farmlands in Ebonyi. I hope we're ready because the storm just began. Moving to the Daily Times this morning. The Daily Times says, false hope as police LGA say kidnapped victims still in captivity despite Igboho's 2-hour ultimatum. Okay, that's why you have to verify stories before you talk about it or even share. Because as at yesterday, there were a lot of videos circulating at some point that they've been released. Their reports came out later that it's not, just be careful. So this one says, false hope as police LGA say kidnapped victims still in captivity despite Igboho's 2-hour ultimatum. Still with the Daily Times, the federal government urged on strategic use of 10 billion naira Ebola preparedness fund. And also Yebanji's victory epic. First incumbent governor to win re-election in Ekiti State, says APC. Ekiti is a very, very interesting state when it comes to politics. So I understand this headline very well. If you've been following, definitely you get it too. Still with Daily Times, ex-minister rejects Nasarawa by-election, demands cancellation over alleged irregularities. Finally, from Daily Times, Naira firms as external reserves hit $51 billion highest in 17 years. The Nation is up next. The Nation says Ekiti poll, how Oyebanji won. Victoria's governor visits PDP rival. President urges winner to be humble. Well, after winning, humility is next. Orire, still making headlines here. Titan security raises hope of release. Terrorists relax stand. Well, all I want to hear this week is good news. Do you agree? Yes. Senate APC wins in Ondo. Enugu Nasarawa PDP takes Rivers. And that's what The Nation says CBN targets $51.04 billion external reserves by December. No religious persecution evidence in Nigeria, says UN official. That story is on page 26 of The Nation. No religious persecution evidence in Nigeria, says UN official. That's it from The Nation. 8:37, Clean Beat 91.5 FM Abuja. If you're just joining us, the round table, we're taking a look at the headlines this morning. Looking at First Daily now, Serap gives Akpabio about 7 days to refund 110 billion naira. Serap gives Akpabio about 7 days to refund 110 billion naira. It's too early to call this large amount of money, please. And it's a brand new week, I beg. Confusion persists over alleged release of Oyo kidnapped victims. Tinubu hails Oyebanji's re-election victory, commends peaceful Ekiti poll. Fulani group urges Tinubu Makinde to restrain Sunday Igbo. NDLEA arrests 2 elderly men for selling drugs to school children. You would think that the older generation should know better and make better choices for the younger generation, but somehow, when it comes to the issue of peddling drugs, their minds do not work. Kudos to the NDLEA. And then Yaga Africa estimates Ekiti governorship poll turnout below 39%. I'll take that again if you didn't hear me. Yaga Africa estimates Ekiti governorship poll turnout below 39%. Hope we're not, grooming ourselves for voter apathy for the general election. Well, that's just it anyway. Troops arrest 3 female ISWAP collaborators in Borno. Well done to our security operatives. Finally, NAF graduates 111 special forces to bolster security. And there's a picture here of Ekiti State Governor Biodun Oyebaji waves to supporters as he arrives with his wife to cast his vote at the Saturday's election. There's a picture here, all smiles. That's how it happens when you win. We're moving straight to The Guardian. The Guardian leads with from airports to airlines. Governors sink over 500 billion naira in new carriers and fleet on page 6. That's massive. And also, Oyebaji re-elected in landslide victory as observers identify gaps ahead of Osun polls. I hope we learn lessons for the next one. Report estimates 279 kidnappings nationwide in May. What a month. Report estimates 279 kidnappings nationwide in May. That's the reason, page 3 of The Guardian. Atiku Amechi presidential bid on settles ADC. Federal government took 1.1 trillion naira from May. FAC revenue before sharing, says Oye. That's the reason, page 2. It interests you? Take a look. When solution to open defecation deserves more than political statements. Whilst we're talking about cholera last week, this was a major conversation even for us here in the FCT. You still get to see open air defecation. It's a major concern and we have to stop it as soon as possible. Our environment is important to us. If we want something clean, if we want to stay healthy, we have to end open air defecation. Sanwo-Olu Bakare lead calls for governance, geo-economics reforms on page 5. Osun Accord, PDP warn INEC against release of unclaimed PVCs to APC. What is going on here? Finally, from The Guardian, 74% of retailers need credit. Only 18 access formal loans. The Punch here leads with retirement bombshell. 5 DCGs to lead 1,516 officers out of customs. Custom faces generational shift as 17 ACGs, 25 comptrollers, top brass prepare to exit. And you just have to employ, isn't it? Or it's not that simple? Okay. Pre-retirement leave begins, as agency said, July 31st deadline for exit-related complaints. Over 1,500 customs retirement statutory, not CG successor plan reps chair. Okay. And then this one says Ekiti governorship poll, Tinubu hails Oyebanji as ADC PDP reject result. All right. JAM access affiliated degree courses in colleges of education. Dangote imported 1.46 billion naira liters blended gasoline, says NMDPRA. That story is on page 39. By-election, still with the punch. APC sweeps Nasarawa, Enugu, Kano, Ondo. PDP holds Rivers. That's the reason, page 8. Ex-OGTV broadcaster. This one broke my heart last night. I just saw it before I went to bed. Ex-OGTV broadcaster, God found dead inside Ogun apartment. My goodness. My goodness. Let's quickly take a look at Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust says Turji's new appearance sparks concern. That's the reason. Page 4 and 5. APC battles petitions 4 days to opening of INEC portal. Kano businessman dies in girlfriend's house. Kano businessman dies in girlfriend's house. May so rest in peace. NDLEA arrests grandfathers for allegedly selling drugs to students. Yes, grandfathers doing that. Shameful. Well, that's it from Daily Trust, and that's all we can take on newspaper review. Let's see. Take a look at the point. Because this headline is quite interesting, I'll just take a look at it. Oshun is not Ekiti. I have Tinubu's backing, Adeleke tells APC as Oyebanji breaks succession jinx. And it also says you're jittery over Accord's poor result. APC hits Oshun governor. Tinubu, others hail Oyebanji's victory, urge opposition to rally round winner. Ruling party sweeps Ondo, Nasarawa, Kano, Kebbi by-elections. And PDP holds Rivers seat. Well, that's it for newspaper review this morning. Thank you. This one's coming in, says, reacting to the headline, Nigeria bleeds, 842 killed, 249 abducted in 1 month. It shows that what we need is collaboration. Nigerian citizens need to wake up to the call, protect and ensure that our security agents have the right information and always escalate things when they do not seem right. Thank you, John from Lokogoma. We appreciate you. This one's also saying Tinubu hails Oyebanji's re-election victory. Well, he's going to commend it regardless because all the APC wants to do is to sweep elections. But what does it translate to for the people? That's another question. This one's also reacting. Reports estimate 279 kidnappings nationwide in May. Oh my goodness. What we need is for our security agents not to give us numbers, but to protect us. All right, thank you so much for your contribution. We appreciate it. You can still send in messages via WhatsApp 09030005915 if you want to react to any of the headlines. But for now, let's take a break. When we return, we'll get into the discussion for this morning. Stay with us.
An overdose of jams from us? Totally safe. Those pills? Not so much. Clean Beats, 91.5 FM Abuja.
Big man, how far now?
I do. Wetin dey sup?
Abeg, you get one stick for there?
Stick you say? Wetin you mean?
You know now. Why you dey form like say you be said?
Asal now, Saint Kemi? No.
Know how you know the use guy. You dey always calm. Nothing dey shake you.
No be so. I just get something where they always calm me down.
Swear, plug your guy now, haba.
Short thing, oya take.
Now music they play for you, my G.
Na so, no be any kind cha. Na the clean selection of songs from Clean Beat 91.5 FM and all the sweet talks from them OAPs.
Only that?
Yes, so na the way be that, my guy.
It's World Drug Day 2026. Let's join forces against substance abuse and drug trafficking for a safer, better society. This message is brought to you by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA.
Them say cocaine now don't be lala. On the streets of Echo, they say coco don't become the lala. So many destiny waste away for the lala. Every day men's the waste taking the lala. Whenever I close my eyes, I go remember. Water run out my eye when I remember. Say the last time where we see now for December. When you tell me say no cocaine, I be the lala. Them say cocaine now don't be lala. On the streets of Echo, they say coco don't become the lala. So many destiny waste away for the lala. Every day men's the waste taking the lala. I beg, say no to lala, say no to banku, say no to igbeshi, say no to drugs.
This is The Round Table with Itoan.
That's right. It's a round table with Itoha on Clean Beats 91.5 FM Abuja. It's 8:48, 22 degrees across the capital. Well, this morning we're getting to the discussion as we just rounded off with a newspaper review. To be part of the conversation, always WhatsApp, send a message to us 090-3000-5915. Well, it's Business Monday. That's how we do it. Well, here's a radio that captures the strange economy we're living in. So Nigeria's biggest listed companies have climbed to record a combined market value of about 54.3 trillion naira. That's roughly $40 billion. As investors pour money into blue chip stocks, the banks are posting record profits. Yet, poverty in Nigeria rose to 63% in 2025, about 140 million people, even as inflation eased. Now, 133 million Nigerians live in multi-dimensional poverty, and around 35 million are projected to face acute food insecurity in June to August lean season. It gets you thinking, right? Well, a friend of mine says the boardrooms are celebrating while the kitchens are empty. How can both things be true at the same time? If corporate Nigeria is winning, why are ordinary Nigerians losing? That's a question for today. And we're asking it in three ways. What does inclusive growth actually look like? Are companies simply passing the cost on to us, the consumers? And does business growth really mean national prosperity? That's what we want to understand this morning. My guest is joining us via telephone conversation this morning. She is ACA. She's Kike Lomo Owolaye. I hope I got Owoyale. ACA is a chartered accountant and ecosystem builder, advancing access to capital for African founders. She is the founder and CEO of She Foundry Limited and managing director at Bonisia Partners, driving investment and venture support across the continent. She currently serves as a 54th president of JCI Lagos Metropolitan. A seasoned speaker and facilitator, her work spans startup finance, capital raising, and leadership development, with engagement across leading platforms such as Lagos Tech Summit, Startup South, X, and Women's Startup Competition Africa. Her contribution has earned recognition, including Leadership Roundtable Summit Award, Finance category, the GAPEX Young Female Rising Stars Award, and a 10 Outstanding Young Persons nomination. Kikelomo Owoyale. I hope I got that correctly this time. Good morning to you.
Yes, please. Good morning. You initially murdered my name, but yeah, I picked up.
I apologize.
Kikelomo Owoyale.
Owoyale, yes. Yes. How you doing this morning? How's the weather treating you?
Yeah, the weather is a bit chilled. So yeah, it's a beautiful morning. And yes, I'm quite excited to be on the call today with Clean Beats 91.5 FM.
All right. Well done and welcome. Let's get straight into it. So Nigeria's biggest lenders wrapped up one of the most remarkable earnings seasons, posting record-breaking results despite tough economic climate. And analysts noted the banks have become adept at turning hardships into profits. Now, meanwhile, the World Bank reports that household incomes have not grown fast enough to offset still elevated inflation, and poverty has yet, to begin to decline. So the question is, how do we have an economy where the banks are setting profits records while 63% of citizens are in poverty? Over to you.
Okay, yes, this is an interesting question that we need to ask ourselves. Actually, this is something that I ask myself on a daily basis, because we see the headlines, we see the, profits,
Yes.
what's it called, announcement, but we are not seeing it in the day-to-day lives of the regular Nigerian, right? So this is typical capitalism at work, and Nigeria is not unique in having industries built on the back of the average citizen. Now, however, the honest answer is actually yes, these things are connected, but the gap is wider. And why is it wider in Nigeria than it should be? And the reasons are actually structural. So let's start with inflation, like you stated.
Yes.
Inflation has gotten purchasing power. The naira a worker earns today buys significantly less than it did 3 years ago. From my own end, I know it did actually. But beyond inflation, the labor laws in Nigeria are actually very weak. And even where laws exist, we don't have enough enforcement, and monitoring are also poor. So that is why we still have companies paying below minimum wage. That is why a chartered accountant, I'm going to speak from personal experience, right,
Okay.
and the things I see. That is why a chartered accountant, someone who has spent millions of naira and years of their life becoming qualified, that is why they can still be offered peanuts by an employer who knows there's no real accountability. And then there's also another structural, structural barriers, right? Which is also the silence around salaries. Now, in Nigeria, what you earn is treated like a court secret. Your colleague sitting beside you,
Doesn't
doing
know.
the same work at the same level with the same profession, must not know your number, must not know what you are earning, right? And that is not accidental. It is actually structural and protects the employers. It also enables the gender pay gap, right? Because I also speak from the lens of gender. Because if proper disclosures are made, there's no way to identify, let alone challenge discriminatory pay that makes women earn less than men for the same work. Now, Nigeria ranked 124th out of 148 countries in the 2025 Global Gender Index, and that is not a coincidence.
Okay.
So that is what happens when transparency is absent in our economy and institutions are too weak to compel it, right? Bank and large corporates are doing what capital does, but then we need structures in place. So the problem is that the countervailing forces that should actually protect the ordinary people like you and I, strong labor regulation, wage transparency, consumer advocacy, they are actually weak or absent entirely.
So are you saying that if we have stronger regulations in place and we have people earning at least the most at a point, or what you're supposed to be earning, that's for the formal sector, do you think the economy would improve?
Exactly. So it would be better, meaning that there would be distribution of wealth. So what is currently happening is that wealth is just staying in a particular place, all right, which is staying in the boardroom, in the, the C executive levels, the owners of the corporations, but we are not seeing it trickle down into the economy. So everybody works, only one man gets paid. And we are not saying that we should counter capitalism entirely. But yes, capitalism would enable the country to grow, but then we need a balance, right? Which means that more regulations to be put in place. And in Nigeria, I would like to say that we like making laws, but we don't even enforce those laws. So we don't even have strong enforcement agencies that are actually protecting our people. So if we have more of this balance, then I think that the economy will be better off.
All right. Now, moving to the next one. Nigeria's premium stocks have hit a record $40 billion in market value, with MTN, Dangote, and the bank surging on hopes of stronger reforms. Yet, a typical food seller told one of our reporters, and I'll quote, says, "Before, I used to cook plenty food and sell it. all. Now, even the small one I cook still remains. People can't buy as much as they used to. Okay, I'm quoting them. So my question is, when we say the economy is growing, whose economy are we actually talking about? Is it possible to have a booming stock market sitting on top of a collapsing consumer market? And for how long can that last? Hello, Kike, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like I explained earlier, right? So it's more of concentration of wealth in just particular elites, in the individuals who have enough capital to be able to run things on a larger scale. So just like I mentioned, about last 3 years, I knew what my earnings could actually get me. These days when you go to a supermarket with 100,000 naira, boom,
It's
boom,
gone.
it's
like magic.
You just go with it. What did you say?
I said it's like magic. It just goes.
Do you get, even the salary is not even, is not able to sustain you, not to now talk of the what should I call them, the the micro businesses rather, not to now talk of the micro businesses that they earn just little, and it is that little that they used to, they recoup and then put back into the business, that they reinvest into the business. So if inflation has actually taken a whole lot of their capital, then it means that their purchasing power has actually been reduced. So their working capital is reducing and nothing is happening to it. So it is those in the it is those in the bigger sectors that are actually getting more from whatever is happening.
Okay. Now, when a company returns to record profitability, partly by raising tariff, is that a sign of healthy growth? Because there's been conversations of most companies passing the bulk to consumers. And I want you to speak on that. Now, I'm going to call, MTN Nigeria's revenue surge of 5.2 trillion naira in 2025. Now, with data revenue alone jumping to 74.5%, that's a recovery driven partly by tariff adjustments implemented in early 2025. So in other words, part of that record profit came from charging subscribers more. So that's what I'm asking you. When a company returns to record profitability, does that mean that we are mostly taking the bulk, the consumers? And how exactly can we strike the balance? I know you had mentioned companies, you talked about regulations in place to ensure that this happens. But when there has to be an increase, what happens to the consumer?
All right. So even aside from, I think it's still empty, and there's a particular increase that happened recently that is affecting everybody, including myself. My data no longer lasts me.
Exactly.
I do 20 gig and in 2 days,
it's gone.
Boom, it's gone.
Yes.
Where am I getting that money from? It's still from the income and revenue I'm making, right? Now, when it comes to price raising tariffs, right, I'm going to speak from the point of an accountant.
Okay.
Now, for price increase, right, this is not a one-size-fits-all conversation, and it is important that we are fair about the distinction. You have mentioned, the big players in the industry. Let's talk about the small players, and then we'll now talk about the big players, right?
Okay.
Now, we are all aware of the staggering inflation in Nigeria and how the cost of production has pushed many companies to the wall. So when cost actually outpace revenue, meaning that when you are spending more than you are earning, a business faces a difficult choice. Should I increase the price or should I reduce the quality?
Okay.
Like that woman you said, the food vendor you said. So she would be facing a difficult choice that, so should I reduce like the stew or the portion or something, right?
Or reduce the
and
meat.
That is why sometimes... What did you say?
I said reduce the meat. Very important.
Exactly. You know how big our meat usually wear.
Yes.
Now you just be seeing and you be like, oh my God, what is going on? Now, this is why sometimes you buy a product today and it does not taste or feel the same way as it used to. I don't know if you've noticed, but a whole lot of products out there are already, reducing their quality. Now, this is a company choosing survival. Now, in that case, whereby your revenue is not meeting up with your cost, there are two options. Either you shut down or you try to find a way around it. Now, trying to find a way around it is either increasing your price or reducing the quality, just to ensure that your revenue is able to meet up with the cost. Now, let's go to the other side of things now, which is the less sympathetic category. Companies that have no genuine justification for price increases, but they do it anyway because there is limited competition and dominant market share, meaning that they can do whatever they can because we have limited options, right? So for this kind of sectors or for this kind of businesses, profitability should actually be a function of business growth, efficiency, innovation, volume expansion, not just because we want to increase the price. What is actually the justification? What is going to be the ripple effect of the regular consumers that cannot do without that product? Because those products are actually not optional. If I do not subscribe today, I would not be on this conversation with you, right? I won't have access to information. I won't have access to the world, right? Now, so when it becomes primarily a function of price setting, something has actually gone wrong. So in a healthy market, a company that raises their prices without delivering more value loses customers to a competitor. But in Nigeria's oligopolistic sector, meaning that the sectors whereby only few firms control the majority of the market, there is often no competitor to run to. So the price increase becomes the easiest lever, and we as the consumers, we have no choice but to absorb it entirely. So this is actually not a growth story. This is a transfer of financial pressure from the company's balance sheet to the household budget, which the government should actually be checking. So we have limited price control mechanism in Nigeria, and that's why you would see that when bus fare increases, they only go up, they don't come down. Never come down because there's nobody checking them. Even if the what's it called, maybe let's say for an instance the price fare reduces or something happens, right, that has made the life easier or that has made the profits gained by the bus conductor to increase, they would not bring down that price, and it just keeps on going on, and they don't know that it's a cycle. The more you increase the cost of transportation, the more the what's it called, those that are producing food or that are distributing food, the more their cost goes up, and then they also push it back to the consumer, which is you and I, and that same bus conductor that is charging high cost. So the cycle continues.
All right. And speaking about this cycle, moving forward, and there is the ripple effect is on the consumer. Would you say then that the likes of FCC, PC is watching, and all of those consumer protection agencies need to do more? And when we say need to do more, what exactly do you want them to do? Like, be specific. Aside just watching the prices, if we see that something is wrong, what exactly can be done to these corporate organizations to say, hey, this is wrong, and should there be things put in place to say you're doing this wrong, and we're stopping you from participating in this particular market or playing in this particular market? What should Nigerians expect them to do? Because it feels like we just see their posters around supermarkets, we see it around stores, but it feels like nothing more is happening.
Okay, all right. So like you said, we have laws in Nigeria, right? And then we are not even implementing them. And sometimes we even need to review all of these laws that are in place in order to keep to keep up to pace with the current reality. So we need more involvement. We need sanctions in place. We need to ensure that we are actually keeping these these organizations, these industries in check. If we are not doing it, if we are turning a blind eye, then they have the liberty to do whatever they can because they know nothing is going to get done. All right.
Yes.
So it is for those institutions to be able to say, you know what, this is actually okay. So is it Rwanda or so that there's a cap to whatever data costs that will be charged their citizens? So these are the kind of things that we're talking about. For telecommunication, this is the amount you can charge a regular or an average Nigerian for this particular service, because we know that bulk of money, that data we are buying now, on an average, you buy nothing less than 20k data in a month. And that's just on an average. Now imagine someone that is earning a minimum wage of 70k plus. What exactly is left of their salary? So these are the things we need to talk about. These are the price control mechanism that need to be put in place. So we need to actually actively monitor the prices and ensure that when things are better, people are called to order. Oh, at this point in time, okay, for this particular reason, you increase so, and so. But now that the prices are better, you need to bring it down. But we don't even have, formal communications on this. We don't even have, follow up on all of this. We don't have sanctions. By the time you have sanctions against these things, people would sit upright because nobody wants to be sanctioned, right, by their government.
All right, it's still a round table right here on Clean Beat 91.5 FM Abuja. It's 7 minutes past 9 o'clock, and we're still speaking to Kike, who is giving us a breakdown of how, corporate Nigeria's profits can translate into the economy proper, especially with the ordinary Nigerian. So let's move on now to the issue of does business growth equal prosperity? No, but before we get into that, I want to ask a question. So economists describe inclusive growth as growth that not only raises GDP, but actually reaches ordinary households through jobs, wages, access, just like you mentioned. So define it for us plainly. Now, what would inclusive growth actually look like in a Nigerian's daily life?
Okay, so so inclusive growth is growth experience, not just by the big corporations and their shareholders, but by every single Nigerian, the market trader, the rural farmer, and the first generation graduates, the woman running a business from her sitting room. So when you say inclusive growth, you would actually feel it before anyone announces it, right? School fees would not consume the majority of a month's income. Rent will not be at a level that forces families into impossible choices. A small business owner will be able to access credit without being asked for collateral she does not have. A medical emergency, most importantly, right, would not wipe out a family saving or worse, cut a life because treatment was simply unaffordable. Wages would move in the same direction as corporate profits, not in opposite directions, while executives celebrate record returns. So right now, for most Nigerian households, one bad month is a crisis that they might not even be able to get back on their feet. Not a setback, a crisis, right? Inclusive growth means building an economy where financial resilience is the norm, not the privilege of a few, where the rising tide actually lifts the boats that are in the water, not just the yachts at the marina.
All right. Now, I think on May Day 2026, workers across Lagos, Abuja, Kano argued that their living standards were better in 2019 on 30,000 naira minimum wage than they are earning today, which is at 70,000 naira. Now, that's a damning claim. Now, saying that life was better on less money 7 years ago. Whose responsibility is it to close the gap between corporate prosperity and household survival?
All right, so this is a function of everyone. I think I've made mention of some of the gaps that are actually causing all of this. So whenever I check the inflation rates, like especially online, right, it does not make sense to me. This morning I still checked and I saw, was it 15% inflation rate? And I know that between I wouldn't even say 2019 because I graduated in 2019. Okay. So I started working I did my NYC 2019, started working 2021, right? 2021, then joined the venture studio in 2022. And I know that what I was earning back then, like I stated, I cannot earn that same amount now and experience the same standard of living now, because that money might not even be enough to just cover my basic expenses. So everything has quadrupled. And there was a time that was like a shocker for us when things are just going up. Even the cost of egg is no longer affordable for the average Nigerian.
Oh, yes.
There was a time that if you can, like egg was like basic.
A crate of egg was 600 in 2019. Now it's about almost 7,000 in most areas, as high as 8,000 if you live in the outskirts.
It's actually crazy. So these things are now more like luxury. Like basic amenities are now more like luxury in Nigeria. Even rent. I still saw people clamoring for, the government intervention, especially when it comes to rent in Lagos. It's just a whole lot of things. And it's like, the reality that is being experienced by an average Nigeria is not translating to what we are seeing, right? To the reports that are being churned out, to what we are seeing out there, right? And then we need to be able to close this gap. So how do we close this gap? Like I said, we need government intervention in closing the gap, because a capitalist will do what they know how to do best. Okay. Which is to increase shareholders' value. That is what they know how to do best, right? Increasing shareholders' value. So the onus lies on regulatory bodies, the onus lies on the government to be able to find a balance. Let's even start from, what's it called now? Open salary structure. There's most job I'm trying to find the word now. Most job announcements you would see online now, you would just say salary is competitive. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Oh yes. Yes, competitive, yes.
Yeah, salary is competitive, and then by the time you've wasted your energy on interview and on preparing for the meeting, then you are getting an offer that does not even translate to the quality and value you are bringing in. And let's say that this is even understandable for a startup that is not even making anything. But what do we have to say about organizations that are raking in a lot of profit, but then it is not even showing in their employees? So they will say, monkey they work, babu they chop. So that is the word we found. That is the word we found ourselves in, right? Yeah. So, like I said, capitalists will always do what capitalists do. So it's for the government to now, say that for this kind of organization, let us even have an open structure. Because if we don't have an open structure, then there's no accountability. There's even no way that even the staffs themselves can actually check the company. Because I do not know what my my colleague is earning or what my boss is earning. So even if a manager should leave a particular role and was earning, let's take for example, let's say the manager was earning a 2.5 million naira, but a new staff that is entering into that role, they can decide to pay that person a 1.2 million naira because you even had no idea what the other person was earning at that point in time. Yeah, yes. And these are structures that we see in developed countries like United Kingdom, United States of America, and all of that. It's not as if those country, structures are also perfect, but at least they are trying. But in Nigeria, labor laws, we need to do better. Even with the structures that are being put in place, we need to do better with that as well, so that there can at least be a balance in the economy.
All right, it's 9:14. Send your messages via WhatsApp 0903-5915. Is the economy working for you? Has it translated into your business? If no, tell us how it's doing that and also how we can improve, because the essence of this program is to make suggestions to policymakers on how we can improve the nation's economy. Now, back to you, Kike. Some argue a chunk of recent corporate success was never real productivity. Some say it was a windfall gain from currency devaluation or higher interest rate. Now, not from making more things or employing more people. Now, if that is true, as someone who's into this, has been into this for a long time, how much of our celebrated business growth is genuine and how much is just financial engineering off the back of weak naira?
All right, can you take that again, please?
Yes, my question is, how much of our celebrated business growth is genuine? Because some have argued that the chunk of recent corporate success was never real productivity, but it was gains from currency devaluation and high interest rates. So I'm asking if that is true. Is business growth genuine? And how much is just financial engineering off the back of a weak naira? Seems like we lost her. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
I lost you for a while.
Yes, I noticed you lost me. All right, so did you get my question or you want me to take it again?
Yeah, just take it again and then we'll move on.
Okay, so I asked most times when we say real productivity, some people have argued that it was on the back of currency devaluation and high interest. So if that is true, then if we're talking about or celebrating business growth in Nigeria, if it's genuine, how much is just financial engineering off the back of weak naira? Is that what we can say, that, oh, they're just making money from, currency devaluation or high interest rates?
Okay, that's actually a food for thought. I would say that it is, for me, right? I would say that it is a combination of both, because we cannot say that work have not been put into most of these industries in order to make them grow. We all know that, especially with capitalism, a whole lot of things are in play. We have a whole lot of workers, coming in 9 to 5, the inconvenience that happens with people, and then the corporate bodies, they still take home, the profits. But then we cannot say that the weak naira has also not contributed to some of the growth as well. But it's either or, right? There are companies, there are industries that are actually affected, especially with the devaluation.
Yes.
Especially the consumer industry, right? Those are heavily affected as well, because the more the higher the dollar rate, the higher cost of production. So it is when the company now decides to maybe increase the price abnormally, in such a way that even whatever margin that they put into it actually increase more than the cost of production increase that has happened. So yeah.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. All right, this question just came in. Says, hello to your guest this morning. If you could redirect one thing, one policy level, one corporate behavior, one government priority to make the next wave of business growth actually reach the ordinary Nigerian, what would it be and why?
Okay, I think that would be transparency.
Transparency.
The one
okay.
I stated earlier,
Yes.
That would be more transparency. Because if we have more transparency, then that means that everybody is accountable, from the gate man to the CEO. That means there would be no, what's the word I'm trying to look for now? There will be no abnormal pay discrepancy, right? In UK, a driver, someone who drives, someone who works at the port, right?
Yes.
A regular officer is able to own their car, is able to, survive and then live. But we know that tax rate is actually high, but then they are able to afford the basic amenities and even some sort of luxury. But in Nigeria currently, someone who works as a gate man can barely even afford to, cover the basic things that are needed by their family. All right. So
Yes.
I feel like transparency is one of those things that we need more in Nigeria, and also stronger labor laws.
All right, that's interesting. This one's coming from Fred. Fred is sending a text from Airport Road. Says cement prices have soared to around 13,000 per bag as Dangote and Boa adjusted rates nationwide. Analysts are warning of knockout rent hikes as well. There are firms with enormous market shares in their sectors. So he says in a sector where there are two major giants, like we see with cement, telecoms, sugar, flour, does the ordinary Nigerian have any real bargaining power at all?
Okay, so we already know the answer, right? this is an obvious.
They are stating the obvious.
Yeah, this is an obvious question. I'm sure that the person who asked, I can't remember their name now.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they also know. What's the name, please?
Yeah, Fred.
Name of the person who asked.
Fred.
Fred, I'm sure you know the answer as well. We actually have no bargaining power because competition is actually low, right? So when one or two giants actually control an entire sector, the ordinary Nigerian, like you and I, we have no real bargaining power. And we're not even talking about laws. Like you said, cement, something that we know that is essential. The moment cement prices increase, rent will increase, right? Because the cost of building an average house would also increase. Now, and we cannot opt out. I cannot decide I want to go and live under the bridge because rent has increased.
My
so
sister.
we have no choice. Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. And if we have a free economy economy will require genuine choice.
Yeah.
And those genuine choice will require real competition. But in this case, that particular sector you just mentioned is an oligopolistic sector, right?
Yes.
Meaning that only few actually control the prices. And that is it. That is the truth. So prices move nationwide, not because of supply and demand, not because we are asking for more cement. I don't think we are asking for more cement, and that's why the prices increased, right? Maybe there's a little inconvenience in their balance sheet, and then they decided to,
pass the
push it
bulk
down
to
to
us.
consumer goods. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Remy from Wuse is here, says, if the entire minimum wage can't even cover a month of food, then who exactly is buying the products driving these record corporate revenue?
Okay. All right. So that's a very interesting question, right? So the question I want to restate the question, which is an average Nigerian cannot afford to buy these things, right?
Yes.
But then why is the profit increasing?
Yes.
The honest truth is Nigeria is a booming country, right? And the population is actually quite high. Based on the last, I've forgotten the particular name this is called now. But based on the last count, right?
Yes.
We are over 200 million, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Exactly.
In terms of population.
So we have a whole lot of, in terms of population. So we are over 200 million. So, and then, these are basic amenities that you have. It is not something that is optional. So when we talk about luxurious goods, right, then you can now say that, for luxurious goods, everybody cannot afford that luxury. Therefore, it should show in the balance sheet of the companies that their maybe revenue are reducing. But the fact is, these are basic amenities. Food. You cannot send your child to school without them eating. Even if you send them to school without them eating, when they come back home, they will request for food, right? So it then means that even if you have to go and borrow as a parent, you would actually borrow in order to ensure that your stomach are fed. Without feeding yourself, you don't even have the energy to, go out there and hustle for more money. So these are things that are, I'm looking for a word. These are things that are inevitable. Yeah, these are things that are inevitable. It's not something that is optional. So in one way or the other, the family will find a way to survive.
To survive, yes.
So
that's just it. All right, and finally, because time is not on our side, quickly, Kike, someone is asking, no name, but you're texting from Gariki. You're saying that if you could peg minimum wage, if you have the opportunity to peg minimum wage, what amounts would be realistic for the government and also realistic for the worker?
It's your audience questions are.
Yeah, they want you to give recommendations, please. The app is something like App Our Life. That's how it's sounding.
Oh my God. So right on this spot, right on this spot, as an accountant, I don't think I can give a particular figure right on this spot because a whole lot of, calculations have to go into minimum wage.
Okay.
Personally, I feel the current minimum wage does not even reflect
the current reality.
Daily reality.
Yes.
Exactly. The current reality of our country. It's actually, I don't want to use the word abysmal, but at this point, that is what it is, right? But then, for us to have, a minimum wage settings, it should be able to cover the basic amenities. So what is the average cost of feeding? What is the average cost of transportation? What is the average cost of what's that third thing that is also essential? Clothing, right?
Yeah.
For a regular, a regular Nigerian, basic housing, transportation, clothing, and feeding. those four things have to at least be covered by the minimum wage, and also something left for a little bit of luxury. And by luxury in Nigeria, what do we even mean by luxury in Nigeria? At least for what's it called, a family to be able to go out on a weekend to enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
There are some families that can't even think, like it's not even a possibility for them, because they're still struggling to eat, they're still struggling to survive. And then the child is saying, I want to go to the park and play. Which park and play? Even the transportation fare is not available,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So, but a ballpark number for me, I don't want to give a particular, so that I don't get quoted.
Yes.
I don't get quoted later in the future.
Okay.
But I feel like a 200k, 300,000 naira, honestly, is not too bad for a minimum wage. At least that way, you know that your transportation, your feeding, your clothing, and all of that is actually being covered. And we know that in Nigeria, budgeting, right? Our budgets, they usually go into, debt servicing, and also what's it called? Recurrent expenditure servicing. Recurrent expenditure servicing, not servicing what exactly actually matter and what would reflect in every average Nigerian home. So that's what I would say from my own end, without any calculation, so that nobody quotes me. At least the 200k, 300k actually what's it called, suffices.
All right. Thank you very much. It's been an interesting run. We appreciate everyone for their comments and also their messages this morning. So, Kike, please, your final words as we wrap up.
All right. So, my final words would be that just like we were taught when we were younger, right? Nigeria is actually a very rich country. We are rich in natural resources. And the onus lies on those that are leading us, right, who are managing these resources on behalf of the citizens to be able to do proper allocation of these resources. And average Nigerians should not be in poverty. I think it was an interview with the man who built Dubai, who said that if they are to start again and then they are giving the resources Nigeria had, they would turn Nigeria into Dubai in a couple of years, right? So we actually have that capacity to turn Nigeria into, what's the word now? I don't use the word first world country, but yes, there's that capacity to grow Nigeria into what each citizen actually desires. But we need to take deliberate effort, right? Deliberate effort into stopping imperialism, deliberate effort into ensuring that priorities are being met. Budgets on education, budgets on budgets on medical expenses, right?
Yes.
Budgets on things that would make an average Nigerian life easier should actually be looked into and should actually be increased, right? We need to find there's just a whole lot, and that's why they would say that if an average entrepreneur, like an entrepreneur who is serious with business, if you come to Nigeria, you would make it in Nigeria. And that's why we always see a lot of foreigners coming into the country, and an average citizen will be wondering, why are they even in Nigeria that I want to get out of, right? And that is because there's a whole lot of gaps in the country that needs to be solved.
Okay.
So if we have intentionality in solving all of these gaps, right, we would have a better country. So we have the resources, and I love what Dangote, right, is doing with the oil and gas industry. These are things that our government should have done a long time ago, right? And if we're able to, if all of these things are being done by the government, the money is being made by the government, then it can be redistributed to the citizens, right? So there are lots of things to unpack, but yes, the onus lies on our government to, do better, especially with resource allocation in the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've been speaking with Kike Lomo Owoyale. ACA is a chartered accountant and ecosystem builder, advancing access to capital for African founders. She is also founder and CEO of She Foundry Limited and managing director at Monisia Partners, driving investment, venture support across the continent. We appreciate you so much, Kike Lomo, for joining us on the roundtable this morning.
Thank you so much, Ito.
All right, we appreciate you. Wealth redistribution, taking a look at the minimum wage as well, pegging it as something that is realistic, but also reflects the current reality of the nation, and also asking that corporate bodies do better. Whilst you're declaring marginal profits, always remember that, the consumers are bearing the cost. We're also calling on regulatory agencies to please take up the responsibility of doing their jobs and protecting us. It's very important, because if these people just continue to rile up revenue, scale up profits at the expense of our pockets, then it means that really the economy is not developing if I am not improving, if my wealth is not improving. So wealth distribution is what comes to play here. But we're very sure that everyone's going to have all hands on deck from every sector to ensure that, the economy is better for it. Thank you so much for joining us on the round table this morning. It's been interesting for Business Monday. My name is Itoham. Back again tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Do well to join me. It's 9:32. Remember, Clean Slate begins at 10 right after the news with the newscaster, Tokumbo Wright or Isaac, will be here to give you updates. And right after, Efe and Henny will take over for Clean Slate. And then remember, lunchtime begins at 2. That's with TPK and Ife. And also the Drive Time show with Lai and Aboye comes up at 4 p.m. Have a wonderful day.
How fun, ah?
I do. Wetin dey sup?
I beg, you get one stick for there.
Stick, you say? Wetin you mean?
You know now. Why you dey form like say you be said?
Asal now, Saint Kemi. No.
Know how you know the use guy. You dey always calm. Nothing dey shake you.
No be so. I just get something where they always calm me down.
Swear. Plug your guy now, haba.
Sure thing. Oya take.
Now music they play for you, my G.
Na so, no be any kind cha. Na the clean selection of songs from Clean Beat 91.5 FM and all the sweet talks from them OAPs.
Only that?
Yes, so na the way be that, my guy.
It's World Drug Day 2026. Let's join forces against substance abuse and drug trafficking for a safer, better society. This message is brought to you by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA.